our hearing script, which will cover the procedure for the hearing. Do you have something, Trey?
Just the familiar thing, got it, live stream. It didn't show up right away, but it just now did.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you.
Just making sure you were good. All right.
I appreciate it. You need to read through our hearing script. This basically just covers the procedure for the hearing. Then we'll jump right into it. So this is the September 21st, 2022 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220139. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. Excuse me, all testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. I'll then give anyone from the public an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll give our zoning plans examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. I will, in the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, Mr. Groh, Mr. Eagle, and Ms. Gully, I will allow you all to tell me about the project, any background you think is important for me to know, and then of course, why you think it's why I should grant this relief. You all can orient that presentation however you would like. One or all of you can speak in any order that you would like. Really, I just want to, get all the important information from the applicants and the owners. I'll then go and give each one of our neighbors here an opportunity, if they would like, to provide any testimony or feedback about the project, support or opposition. I'll go back to the applicants and the owners, allow them to respond to that, and then allow them to make any closing statements. I'll also allow, again, like I said, Trey Sheldon to provide some testimony as well. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at this hearing. That is discretionary though. In the event of any technical difficulties with the video conferencing technology, I will do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the final thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you want to provide any testimony here today, make any comments, ask any questions, really do anything other than just strictly observe here today, then you need to be sworn in. If you're not certain whether you want to testify, I can always swear you in later, but if you know you want to testify or that you intend on providing testimony, I'd like to collectively swear all those people in right now. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you take yourself off mute. I need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. And Ms. Gully, was that a virtual hand raise to swear in, or do you have a question?
No, it just did it automatically. I'm just swearing
nice.
in.
That's great. I don't think I've ever seen that before. All right. So who's going to be taking the lead for us here on the presentation of the applicant's case?
I'm gonna share my screen and let Lisa go ahead and present, if that's all right.
That works. However you want to do it. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time this morning. I'll let Evan get the screen share going. All right, we can go to the next slide, please. So as not to repeat too much of the information that may be in the staff report, the school has a long history on this site, being in existence for 50 years. And previous to the new school being on the site, the St. Thomas Aquinas was there as an educational facility. So long history of educational use on the site, obviously predating the existing zoning code. And the school has been great stewards of the Mitchell Mansion, which is also on this site for all of its years that they have been on the site. So they are looking for a conditional use approval for educational use within single family zoning. as well as a locational variance in the front yard. And additionally, the front yard parking to be extended adjacent to the existing parking to allow for a contiguous parking and drive on site, and to alleviate some of the existing congestion that is present on Burton Woods Lane between about 10 Burton Woods and the north school entrance. So the school is looking to build a new kaleidoscope center. It's approximately 5,000 square feet. It is to support the programmatic needs that the school now has, seeing as the existing building was almost 100 years old, and provide more accessible administrative offices, meeting space, a small gathering space, multi-purpose flexible space for indoor recess, specials, art, music, Spanish, so forth. Flexible space for the current century's educational needs, and to streamline the traffic circulation pattern in the neighborhood. Obviously, we had existing challenges with the almost 100-year-old building, needing most building systems to be updated or replaced, not meeting the current programmatic needs of the school, and splitting the valuable green space in two. And so the hope is by shifting the building deeper into the site that we are offering a more contiguous green space for both the school use and as well as a larger front yard buffer.
While we're on this slide, just I have a quick question. So is there a new accessory structure being built to the existing school that is the mansion?
The existing school is the mansion. There was an existing building called the Annex, which is what is being replaced. That was demolished earlier this month in preparation. Okay. And so that's the extent of it. So the 3,000 square foot new build is to replace that existing Annex building. The mansion will be untouched.
Gotcha. And did you say 3,000 or 5,000?
5,000.
Okay. Got it. All right. Thanks. Just want to clarify that.
Thank you. And as we mentioned, we are refining the site circulation to allow for one ingress and a separate egress to alleviate some of the bottleneck happening where the existing roadway narrows and has on-site parking that does not allow for two cars to pass each other. And so by pulling our school traffic off of the street, we are hopeful that it will alleviate that bottleneck condition. That existing driveway that Evan has his cursor on is existing, and it is not currently connected to the existing parking lot. We will connect it to the existing parking lot and extend some of the existing parking that is shown on the edge of the parking lot right there to allow for the staff parking, to make sure that we are not parking staff on the street, and to again allow for that contiguous blacktop and asphalt. We will, of course, be screening that additional parking. The existing parking that is there is already screened with landscaping, and so that will comply with the requirements there. Okay, next slide, please. And so these are just concept renderings showing the form and general aesthetic of the building. Obviously, we have not chosen colors and so forth at this point, but these are the renderings that were presented previously during our town hall meeting where we invited neighbors to attend, and also at the April 12th NANA meeting where we presented the plan to replace the annex. And so we, in the new building, we will be providing accessible school offices. They are currently in the second floor of the mansion. We would like to bring them down to grade and allow for a secure vestibule entry into the school. We are also providing a small conference space, a small multi-purpose room, an art room, and a multi-purpose classroom to allow for specials and music class. And we did receive many letters and notes of support from neighbors, and I've highlighted their locations on the street. I believe that all of them, the notes were forwarded to zoning hearing administrator, and then, but just for good measure, I've on the next slide got them quoted. So neighbors at 6 Burton Woods, 35 Burton Woods Lane, 1 Burton Woods Lane, and the last one I can't read. Whoop. Apologize, I can't see on that screen. That's it's 2. Yeah, thank you. And so we've gotten notes of support about the support of the plan and the support of the school in general on the street. So we believe that it complies with the zoning requirement to not be a detriment in any way to the single family zone, and hope to continue the educational use on the site. I've also included, while we don't have a formal letter of support from NANA, I did include the minutes from the NANA presentation on April 12th, where it outlined the presentation and the commentary. A majority of the commentary were related to a separate parcel that is adjacent and not to the Kaleidoscope Center presentation. So the conversation regarding the Kaleidoscope Center specifically was very positive, and we did not have any formal objection during that meeting. And then I also included just the site plan as an indicator. We will not be doing any work on the left side of the line, including any adjustments or modifications to the existing mansion. And this shows the extended parking area and the connection of that existing driveway to the parking lot. And also the existing north driveway where the existing teacher lot is will be, or sorry, south driveway will be eliminated to allow for more green space and front yard buffer. I believe that that is all that I have.
Okay, great. I think I'll hold off on questions for now. Is there anyone else from the applicant or owner team that would like to testify before we move to the neighbors?
Jeff, did you need to say anything or?
No, thank you, Lisa, for a comprehensive coverage of that. So I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and move on to, is Jan Diehouse still with us? Okay, come back to him. Rosalie?
Yes, I live at number 1 Burton Woods Lane, and I have no objection to what the school is planning to do. The building, the mansion has existed before any of the other houses on the street, and they've done a wonderful job over the years, so I have no objection.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would also like to add that it was a school before it was the Montessori. When we moved here, the building that the so-called annex was a church, St. Thomas Aquinas. And when we moved here, they used to have Saturday evening services and Sunday morning services. So once and then apparently even before that, it was a nunnery and a Catholic school owned by, all of that land was given to the Archdiocese by the Mitchell family of Mitchell Avenue. So they built the whole area. And so it has a lot of history there. Just wanted to point that out.
I appreciate that. Thanks for that history, and thanks for your time and your testimony here today.
Thank you.
Mr. Nickel, is there anything you want?
Yes, I'm here. I have no overall objections to this construction. I think it's needed and have no problem with it. The building is clearly not in the style of the neighborhood, and whatever can be done to make it look more like the neighborhood would be good. I think we were in agreement that the blue color on the renderings is not so good. And the large signs of the new school Montessori signs and seem a bit larger than necessary and kind of are kind of obtrusive into the neighborhood. I had a question from Charlene Morse regarding water. There's a spring somewhere on the property that leaks down onto Burton Woods Lane and creates ice hazards in the winter. And I think she wrote in about that, so perhaps that could be addressed. And of course, the parking is always a problem. The larger problem I have, and I think several others, is the long-term plans of the school. The second parcel that was mentioned earlier, as we speak, I have a very large piece of construction machinery digging holes right in front of my house. This was 2 to 3 days ago, a century-old residence that was demolished over objections of quite a few of us in the neighborhood. And as of now, there has been no application for a variance for any future use of that. So we don't really know what they're going to do. There's a vague statement there will be a native plant garden, whatever the heck that is. But other than that, we don't know. And there's a great concern in the neighborhood that this is the beginning of taking over the neighborhood. And the time I've been here, they moved into 29 Burton Woods Lane over the objection of neighbors. Now they've taken over 33 Burton Woods Lane and demolished it. And there are several other houses adjacent that, you know, at some point they might be able to purchase. So the long-term plan is what we're concerned with. And I don't know that that's relevant to this present hearing, but I think it needs to be in the background. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nickel. Thanks for your testimony. So to be clear, you don't have any objections to the requested relief to continue to use this as a school or to build a new accessory structure and change that front yard parking. But you do have these other concerns you mentioned about long-term use, style, signage, and water leakage. Is that right?
I think that's accurate, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your time and your testimony. To the applicants, just keep that in your back pocket for a minute. I'm going to go to Trey Sheldon next, our zoning and plans examiner. Then I'll give you guys a chance to respond to Mr. Nichols' testimony. Trey.
Yeah, David, just a couple of comments beyond the staff report. One, for starters, I was out of town on vacation when the review needed to be done for this. So my colleague Wes Menzel did the adjudication letter for Evan and Lisa, so I had very little time to do the staff report. I was on this project to begin with. Evan and I discussed it quite some time ago, maybe a year ago or more. So I was familiar with it. The one thing I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, they do have to have a landscape buffer there on screen, and it would be nice to have a landscape plan to actually show that that is compliant. They have stated that, and it'll be continued in the manner similar to that which they showed in photographs. But I'm just pointing out that as of writing in my staff report, I was not presented with that, and I didn't know. I didn't have any neighbor that called bring that up, so that wasn't. No one stated that, but that is going to be a requirement for permitting. You're going to need to show that you're screening that new parking area and the drive area. That's we have very similar situations with other schools and with country clubs and even churches. So all three of those are conditional uses in single family neighborhoods, and we like to see a very substantial vegetative screen with some conifers or evergreen to really block this out. So you're going to have to present that for permitting, and I'm sorry that the timing of this I wasn't allowed to. I didn't have the time to communicate that to you
Thanks,
To cover that. Hopefully that'll alleviate any kind of neighbor concerns about the view shed and there. As to the signage, Mr. Nickel brought that up, and that's something that I originally mentioned to Evan. I think this may have come in for coordinated site, or I previously discussed it, Evan, but signage for a non-residential use and a identification signage, that is for non-residential use in a single family zoning district, is limited to 24 square feet for public and semi-public uses. That applies to either you can have basically one per building. So you can either have a ground sign or you can have a wall sign. So, for all I know, you may want to ultimately, the school may ultimately want to choose to do a ground sign, which would be more visible from the entry. Because
Trey, I think we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. At least I am. It's a little muffled, and we can hear some background noise. But I know you can only do so much about that.
Let me ask.
Talk more directly in the mic, maybe. I don't know.
Sorry about that. Is that better?
Just a little bit. Let's see if you get that mic to your mouth.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Anyhow, basically the signage would have to be substantially reduced. So I realize that's just a rendering, just a CAD rendering, but signage probably, I didn't have any dimensions for it or anything, but that'll have to be substantially reduced. You'll kind of have to make a call whether you want it to be a wall sign, even though this building's going to be back further than the existing accessory building, or whether you want to go with a ground sign, kind of a monument sign. Sometimes we call them a landscape sign, where it's on a kind of a stone pedestal or brick pedestal or something like that. You'll have to make that decision. But I just wanted to address that to Mr. Nickel, because that signage appears to be considerably larger than what would be permitted. Those are the only two real issues that I think would need to be addressed going forward for permitting.
Okay.
Unless there's any other question you have, David.
Thanks, Trey. No, not at this time. Okay, go back to applicants, owners on this. So anything you'd like to respond to on the from Trey or from any of the neighbors? And I would like to direct you on one question. That landscaping plan. Does a landscaping plan exist?
Currently, we just had a sort of a placeholder that yes, we would meet the landscape, and that'll obviously be developed. So we're fine with that being a condition of for permit.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm going. And then I don't know if Jeff or Lisa want to address Mr. Nichols' future use comments. We can go from there.
I would.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jeff. I was just going to say that at present, the school is not seeking to acquire any additional property. And the property that was acquired was a partial gift from an alumni family that lived in that house. And unfortunately, the house had significant maintenance issues, as well as some significant structural and foundational issues. Related to Mr. Nichols' question about the landscape plan, we have engaged with a landscape team. We have produced a landscape plan for that parcel. While not specifically related to the 3 Burton Woods case at hand, we have communicated that is to be installed in short order with that landscape plan that has been developed for that additional parcel. Signage has been addressed. I don't have any commentary on the spring. We can certainly investigate, but I don't have any additional information related to that spring at this time. Jeff, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would just add that there's no long-term strategic plan from the new school in terms of acquiring additional land. As Lisa said, there is, this came as a partial gift from a family. We've engaged with the neighborhood to be a part of a committee and team that would have a voice in the landscaping of the natural space that we're creating. The neighbors immediately adjacent to that property are representatives for the neighborhood and are also a part of that team that have a voice in what that's going to look like.
Okay. Anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today?
I think I would just like to say that Tom's statement about the neighbors, it's not all the neighbors. It's a certain number of neighbors who are in favor and a certain number of neighbors who are not in favor. But I think it's misleading to give the impression that that's more than that it's a majority of the neighbors. It isn't.
Okay.
And also, as far as the spring is concerned, whatever has been there since time immemorial. So I don't know that there's anything that can be done unless it has something to do with the Metropolitan Sewer District that can somehow affect or change whatever the problem is there. Because that's not something new. That would be something that has previously existed.
Thank you. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I've had a chance to review the application materials, review the staff report. Although I am certainly sympathetic to some of the concerns from some of the neighbors that were mentioned here today, I think the scope of my review is limited to really whether this is able to be continued as a school use and whether changing the parking lot and building that accessory structure in the place of the old one is appropriate. And I think in that limited scope, it is. And so I'm going to approve this application. I will be attaching a condition that a landscaping plan is submitted and approved at a staff level by our zoning staff that will appropriately screen the parking and the parking lot from nearby property owners. I would encourage Mr. Nickel or any other neighbors that are that have brought up some of these other auxiliary problems to continue to dialogue with the school and with MSD or other city departments.
David, if I might, if it's a runoff issue, then it's not going to be Metropolitan Sewer District. It would be Stormwater Management Unit, SMU. I'm just stating that any kind of runoff thing is stormwater, not
Got it.
Not MSD.
Thanks,
I
Trey.
just didn't want to head somebody in the wrong direction.
Sure. I appreciate that. I need to formalize this decision in a written opinion. That is typically what takes a little bit longer, the extra 2 weeks there. And so I'll do everything I can to get that finished as quickly as possible. As soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. And so you all have a copy really just moments after it's complete. To the applicants, as soon as you receive that copy, you can work with Mr. Sheldon on submitting that landscaping plan and then getting the necessary permitting approved. If anyone has any questions about any of this, feel free to reach out to myself directly at the email you see on the screen. Or if to the applicants you'd like an update on the status of the decision, I'm happy to provide that to you. Please, again, feel free to reach out to me directly. Any other questions right now that I can answer? Okay, great. Well, thank you all again for your time, your testimony. I hope you have a wonderful day. Good luck with the project.